The most valuable thing I learned from this training is that the training is very, very precise, very accurate, and it is fast knowledge on all the participants.
The content was very excellent and very encouraging. So I look forward to future participation in this kind of bankable program.
With the training, I know the sort of equipment that you can use that will save you lot of energy, and with the training, I also realized that there are other funds available when you save energy.
And we'll focus likely on the business plan section, spending a bit of time on the business plan section, because that's what we want to do this month. After which, we'll continue. So, actually, you don't need the mic, but it's alright. Use the mic. Alright, so, like I said, when we do theoretical trainings like this, people often forget before they get to sample game. And so what we want to do is to make it do a recap before we then get into the practical elements of the work. You remember that yesterday we first, leveled the playing field for folks here in Kano. We said that we had some training back in Lagos and Anambra that we were not part of when we came 18 months ago. So we leveled the playing field. And what we did was remind ourselves what RECP means, what IEE means. We spoke about the key drivers of RECP and IEE. We said there are four. We said the first one is rising cost. The second is environmental compliance. The third, the opportunity to grow into new supply chains. And the fourth is the opportunity to get costs, to get capital at reduced cost. After we spoke about the key drivers, we then moved on to talk about challenges for raising capital in Nigeria. We said some of the partners are already doing the actual products for RECP and IEE and sustainability generally, but there is a huge funding gap. After that, we then moved on to speak about the different ways of funding RECP projects. We said it can be as cheap as grants and it can be as expensive as debt, as equity. And we said in the middle we've got debt. We have corporate debt and we have project finance and we go to because our becomes debt again. And then we spoke about building a business case for RECP and IEE. We used the four key drivers that we had spoken about before to build the business case. And we said, if anything, we should find a way to balance value and value. After that, we spoke about the prioritization framework. Remember, we said, identify a car, you can do something about it, but do not do it. Try to do something, you should list out the range of solutions, list out the solution set, engage stakeholders, do a quantitative and quantitative assessment of the solution, rank the solutions, and then get into the world of fundraising. Do you want to find the fund internally or do you want to find it externally? If you're finding it externally, will it be debt or will it be equity? And after that, we spoke about the opportunity matrix. We said you can rank or you can do your quantitative and quantitative assessment based on cost, impact, and ease of implementation. After that, we did a class exercise where we tried our hand at ranking certain RECP projects. And then we also spoke about the 2x2 matrix. If you remember, we said high impact, low impact, high cost, low cost. And we said that the sweet spot really is high impact, low cost. You can find a project that is cheap or is affordable and gives you high impact. That really is the sweet spot. And then after that, we also did a class exercise where we had different views about whether posting signage is low impact payback, buyback. And we said stuff like that, it really comes down to culture of the organization. And we said that you can use the characteristic approach to drive behavioral change. And then we spoke about some of the questions that you can ask, sample questions. What really is the challenge that we're facing? What alternative solutions are there? What's the minimum viable products? After that, we then came into the world of how to prepare a bankable business plan. So for this one, I'll be going through the slides very quickly. And that's because you'll be writing a problem statement, you'll be writing a solution statement, and on like that. So I want to show us the slides again so that we're familiar with the architecture of a business plan. I won't spend too much time here. We said that there are 4 among many reasons why a business plan is important. For specifically for an RECP business plan, there are 4 key reasons. The first is that it helps clarify your vision. And in clarifying your vision, it clarifies it in a way that funders understand. I gave the example of how I could have done all that training yesterday, but I was speaking Spanish. Even though the vision is the same, i.e. the content is the same, you might not have understood a word of what I was saying. And so a business plan helps to clarify your vision, but it also clarifies it in a way that funders understand. We said the next thing is that it also helps to guide implementation. And we said it's critical that you have an implementation plan embedded within your business plan so that you can tell what the milestones are, what actions you have to take, and who will be responsible. So we spoke about accountability. And so a well-written business plan that has an implementation plan helps to guide implementation. The third thing is that, well, if you write a business plan in a way that funders understand, it helps to unlock finance. And then finally, we said that you should never forget the need to balance values and value. And so a well-written business plan connects that dot for you. It helps to show what the values are, but it also helps to show what the value that you're offering is. All right, we spoke about the building blocks of a business plan, and we spent a bit of time there. This was the part where we were talking about the arrow that points ultimately into an executive summary, and people stopped me and said, "Are you saying the executive summary should come last? I'm an executive, I just want to read the summary." And we said that the reason why we said you should write the executive summary last, not put it last in the business plan, is that a summary by its very nature helps to summarize a body of work. It helps to distill a body of work into brief points. And we said that because things can change as you go along the way as you write your business plan. For example, when you do your market research, you might discover new things. And so it's important that it's the summary that you write last. But it doesn't mean that you should place the executive summary at the end of the business plan. The executive summary should still be first within the business plan. Now, Oga, how are you now? You're the one asking me to help you rank which solution you should give to your company. I remember you. All right, we then said, let's get into the crux of the matter. We said for a problem statement, there are 3 things that are important. First, obviously, is that you want to define what the challenge is. What is the issue? After you define what the issue is, you should define the cost of maintaining the status quo, meaning how much are we currently spending today? And then finally, we said that we want to talk about the opportunity for savings. And we said in talking about the opportunity for savings, that sometimes that's already implicit in the statement that you've made. So, for example, if you see that we spend 30 million naira annually on diesel, implicit in that, you're already saying that if we change from diesel to something else, there's the potential for us to save 30 million naira annually. And so we gave an example of a problem statement. We said the company currently spends 30 million naira annually on diesel generators due to grid unreliability, leading to elevated emissions and operating costs. We said the problem in there is high diesel use due to grid unreliability. We said the cost is 30 million naira, And the opportunity for savings is that you will save that cost and reduce emission. One thing I didn't mention yesterday, and it's important to mention, is that when you write your business plan, make no mistake, problem statement will not be 2 sentences. You want to expand on the problem statement. This is just giving you what the framework is for writing the problem statement. The other thing I should mention is that I also shy away or run away from giving you the length. I will not say write one problem statement, the ideal length is 1 page or 2 pages, because the context from one company differs to another. For some companies, half a page is good enough. For some others, they write up to 1.5 pages or 2 pages. So that you not live here and say that you must write 2 pages, or you don't live here and say you must write half a page. The important thing is that these 3 elements should feature in your problem statement. As long as you capture the 3 elements, you are fine. Alright, so the next thing we said was that we should go to the solution statement next. Now that you described the problem, how do you want to solve the problem? We said the first thing is that you should describe the solution in and of itself, but beyond describing the solution, you then want to talk about the technical approach for the solution. We said there are certain solutions that are just technical by their very nature. And so you want to talk about technical approach, but you also want to balance technical description with the business need. And so we said that sometimes our engineer friends will write a business plan of 40 pages, and 35 pages will be describing the technical elements of the solution. We said that if you give that to a funder that is not technically savvy, is not an engineer, they will just return your business plan to you. So we said that it is critical, therefore, that you find the right balance between describing the technical approach, between details, and getting straight to the point. The only caveat included is that there are certain solutions that are by their very nature very technical, and that there are 1 or 2 ways to solve that problem. Either you have a technical report that goes into all the details, or you include the detail within the plan, but a funder would recognize that this is a technical solution, and so you get an expert to help review the technical elements of the solution. And then finally, again, this thing about connecting values and value. We said you should talk about the alignment with the relevant RECP principle. Like I said, please listen to this thing, because this is the thing that we're about to work on now. Alright, so the third element is market and regulatory context. This is pretty straightforward. We said that we want to talk about what's currently happening in the industry, what the competitive dynamics is. Do you have competitors that are deploying this solution, or do you have others that have deployed it? How are competitors dealing with this? What's the current market realities? After that, we spoke about talking about environmental regulations. And environmental regulation was one thing we spoke about extensively yesterday. We said the cost of non-compliance is not only in fines and penalties. The cost of non-compliance is the potential reputational damage that you might have if you do not comply. And then finally, we spoke about supply chain considerations. We said, for example, if you are going to bring this product from outside Nigeria, how quickly can you bring it? Are there bottlenecks today? Maybe the point where you wanted to bring it in was when Suez Canal got blocked. What are some of the supply chain considerations that you want to include as you work on your market and regulatory context? Implementation plan was something that I dwelt on yesterday, because I said I've seen too many business plans that do not have an implementation plan. And an implementation plan is the roadmap that gets you from point A, that gets you from ideation to point B, that leads to execution. There was an example I gave I believe it was in Abuja. I said that the implementation plan goes beyond just writing it. It needs careful, thoughtful approach to it. I gave the example of a certain country that I know, where a plane took off from a city and was supposed to go to city B. And when they landed, they said, we have arrived at city B, only for them to step out of the plane and they were at city C. There's a country I know where that was. And what had happened was that the flight path that was given to the pilot was different from the location that the pilot was supposed to go to. So an implementation plan has to be carefully thought through. Else, when you take off and you think that you are going to Kano, you might find yourself in Asaba. All right. And so we said that there are 3 things that are critical in an implementation plan. Do we have the in-house capability to do this? Or will we use an external vendor or an external consultant? If we use an external consultant, well, what's their track record? Have they installed something similar? Have they deployed this in the past? Even if they have deployed it in the past, is it at the same scale as we want it to be deployed? Those questions are critical for us to ask. The other thing we said was that we need to train our workforce, or at least check whether our workforce have the skills necessary to operate the equipment when it's deployed. If they don't, then we have to think about training that workforce. We also spoke about sometimes there's need to consider space availability. We spoke about the company that wanted to do rooftop solar, and when they were done, they said that solar does not work. Well, the problem was that the surface area of their roof wasn't big enough to power the entire building. But it was because they used roadside engineering. So we say that it's important and critical that sometimes for certain equipment you want to consider whether you have enough space. And then finally, we said this particular one is really, really important. That you should have an implementation timeline. Consultants sometimes we call it a Gantt chart. They like to use plenty English. The core of what they are saying is that put there what is the timeline, what are the actions, and who is going to be accountable and responsible for doing the action. And then finally, we said that that this particular part, even if we do not, I'm sure the bankers are not around yet. We said that within our own company, even if it's critical that we are truthful with ourselves, it's important that you commit to transparency so that if we are getting below the amount of savings we should get, we can go back to the drawing board and speak about it. So we said we need to bring external or internal or external auditor around to help us commit to the KPIs that we set. And that's where I spoke about how I know most of us don't like auditors, and that even me now that I'm getting audited, I'm not too big a fan of auditors. But I think I was a good auditor in my own life when I was an auditor back in the day, because I allowed you to write your own audit report by yourself. When I ask you, tell me the process. You tell me the process. Then I will say, show me the process. And when you show me, and there is scale there, it's important that you also talk about the mitigation strategy. And if you just list out risk, and you don't talk about the mitigation strategy, you have just given us the reason why the business will not work. So if you say that there will be technical risk, if you say that there will be operational risk, if you say that there will be financial risk, or market risk, or regulatory risk, but you don't tell us how you intend to mitigate the risk. You've just given us a list of why your business will not work. And BOI, my friends over there, they will just carry you know that they look nice. So they will nicely return your business plan to you. And they will tell you to go to maybe Lapo to go and collect the money. And by the time Lapo starts chasing you, you know yourself. We said that going forward, we'll stop calling this final one other consideration, because it's an integral part. Did I see you yesterday, sir? So, yeah, and it's not saying walk. Where is it? It's sitting there. You have marked your face now. Answer question. other important thing that we have to consider, and we gave the example of the company. Who bought the land? Who has collected the money? Who wanted to start site preparation, only for them to get there, and the community said, no, you cannot do the work. We said that money went into thin air, it disappeared, and it's called sunk costs. So that's the recap of the work that we did yesterday. That is 10 to 4 p.m. distilled into 15 minutes. Today, what are we going to do? You see, today I came prepared because today I will not be saying too much. The people in the room are the ones that will be talking. It's why I came simply dressed like this. I'm not wearing suits, I'm not wearing tie. I'm just wearing my bag and my slippers. Because the work will be for all of us in the room to do. Do you want me to describe the case study now, or do they want to do that? All right, so let me quickly describe the case study. Here's the case study. How are you doing, sir? We're still here. Now you switch. Comfortable there, okay. Comfortable today. Greenleaf Textiles Limited. You notice that all the examples that we gave before yesterday were mid-sized company, or bakery, small company. But this is industrial energy efficiency. And so Greenleaf is a large-sized company. It's a textile company. In fact, it's one of Nigeria's largest textile manufacturing companies. Let me come to this side so that you can see the well. You know, they operate a 24-hour production line and have 600 employees. They produce dyed cotton fabrics for export and domestic sales. I'm sure the minute you saw exports there, some of you are already thinking about EU carbon border adjustment mechanism that we spoke about yesterday. But I know some people they use it to go and eat as Mama tea. They've forgotten EU CBA that we spoke about yesterday. Now, they currently consume this Greenleaf Textile Limited currently consumes a large volume of diesel for steam generation, electricity for bottles, and water for dyeing and rinsing processes. They also generate a significant amount of wastewater and heat, which goes unused. Recently, in the benevolence of man at this project, we did 3 RECP audits for them. And we were presented with multiple recommendations. Greenleaf now wants to prioritize how many? 1 or what? 2 RECP opportunities. How many? 1 or 2. I did not say everything. They want to prioritize 1 or 2. But there was a city that I went to that their solution was all the 4 solutions on the board or the screen. They want to prioritize 1 or 2 RECP opportunities. They want to develop a business case and seek funding from a green finance provider or DFI like BOI. What's our job today? Well, Greenleaf has said that they want to use external consultants. So they came to this consulting company called Kano Consulting Limited. This consulting firm, all of us in this show today, we are consultants. Our job will be to assess these RECP opportunities that have so been defined. You will notice that we wrote the measure, we spoke about the capex cost, that's the capital expenditure. We spoke about the annual savings, payback period, and the environmental impacts. So based off all of these things, we would be working together and be developing a business plan. For example, we'll start by talking about what the problem statement is in our individual table groups. And we'll write the problem statement for creation. After that, we'll write a solution statement. And on and on and on like that. But before we get started with the case study, my Oga at the top has something to say to us. Thank you. By now, I think everybody should have a slice in your box, your mailbox. Am I correct? If I have not seen the slides, which means your email address is not correct. So we quickly run through the classroom exercise. Like I said, this project stands on two legs: the industrial energy efficiency and resource efficient cleaner production. Those are the two legs. So we do the class exercise on the two legs. So I think the first one will be is IEE. That one. You have the slide.
All the details
okay. They said it's still by time that industries must have gotten it by now. So the partners and the experts will be getting their own just immediately. So the first one is IEE, Industrial Energy Efficiency. They are just terms and terminologies, those things that we remember if you have attended any of our training. So that one will take us to test anybody. It's just to know the impact of the training on their people. And you know, where they put their money, they always want a return in the form of data and information. Otherwise, who am I to test it? Who am I to test it, Professor? Industries, then we need to meet after the training. If you are representing industry, you need to wait for 5 minutes after the training.
we have the script, please, so that we can continue with
My US friend, are you still writing? DJT. Are you using your phone to do what? Are you done? All right, so for the benefit of those that were not here when we started this morning, let's quickly go through the case study again and we'll get started. We remember our table group from yesterday. We want to maintain the same table group, or should we switch it up? All right, so where's table group 1? That's not group 1, group 2, I believe this was group 3, group 4, group 5, and then we'll have that as group 6. Table group 6. So that's one table group, that's another table group, this is a table group, this right here is a table group, that's a table group, and then our guys here, that's another table group. All right, one class. So we said this morning, we want to try our hands. This morning, we want to try our hands at writing a business plan. We want to take all the tools that we learned yesterday, all the tools that we added to our toolbox yesterday. We want to use those tools to help Greenleaf Textiles Limited. We said this is Kano consulting firm. We've been commissioned by Greenleaf Textiles Limited, a large textile manufacturing company, to write a business plan. We said Greenweave is one of Nigeria's largest textile manufacturing companies. They operate a 24-hour production line and they produce dyed cotton fabrics for both export and import. So they do not only sell within Nigeria, they also export the products or the cotton that they manufacture. We said that currently they have a few challenges. They use a large volume of diesel for steam generation. They use electricity for motors and a large amount of diesel that helps to propel the water that they use for their dyeing and reusing processes. We said they generate a significant amount of wastewater and heat, which goes unused. So when they generate dirty water, they don't recycle the water. Recently, we helped to conduct a preliminary RECP audit and we identified multiple recommendations. So we provided them with multiple recommendations. Green Weave wants to prioritize one or two of the recommendations that were provided to them. And they also want to develop a business case and ultimately seek funding from either a green finance provider or DFI or any other bank actually, or any other funding partner. Our job, like we said, is to help Green Weave to write a business plan. So what are the RECP or IEE opportunities that have been identified? It's these four. Those are the measures that were identified. That's the cost to implement those measures. Those are the savings that they would likely get from implementing the measures. That's the payback period for each of the measures, and those are the environmental impact. What's our role? Our role is to help them write a business plan. So in each of our table groups now, we will start out by writing a problem statement. Remember, we said the problem statement has three critical elements. First, you describe the operational challenge. The second, you talk about the costs of maintaining status quo. And then finally, you want to talk about the savings or the opportunities for savings. So we would start now for the next, let's see how many minutes, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, we will start now and we'll write a problem statement. So we are starting at 10:18. By 10:28, okay, let's just say by 10:30, we'll reconvene and we'll quickly debrief on the problem statement that you write written in your table groups. Any question before we get started? Any question? All right, let's start.
Are we to write only the problem statement to the business plan? Like you mentioned, we have stages, operational challenge, cost of maintenance, and saving opportunities. Are we to write on these three things, or we have to write the whole business plan, specifically what we want us to do?
We'll be working on the entire business plan, but we'll be taking each section by section. So at the moment, we are just working on the problem statement. Sorry, one class. What's your question? Sorry, one class. You're writing the problem statement for Green Weave. Read the case study and write what you think the problem is for Green Weave. I'm not saying write solution. I'm saying write a problem statement for Green Weave. Just by reading this, you already can see what problem they have. So write a problem statement for Green Weave. Do you have a question? All right. Let's get started. We'll come back at 10 minutes.
So, good morning. This is one of our problem statement. He said that
Before you start, was it very easy for you guys to decide what the problem was?
Actually, we have
Did you debate?
debate actually because we had one.
so. He said, Green Weave Social Limited, which is operated 24 hours for production.
Sorry, one class.
large volume of diesel for generation of electricity and large volume of water for dyeing.
That's problem statement. Give them a round of applause. You should notice that of the three elements within a problem statement, they only touched on one. We said that when you write a problem statement, you should not only say what the problem is, you should talk about the cost implications. You're allowed to make assumptions of what the cost implication is. But while you rightly identify what the problem is, it consumes a lot of diesel and water, you have not told us how much that consumption costs and what the opportunity for savings are.
I thought that was the
So that's why I flipped back to the problem statement slide to show you the critical element of a problem statement. I think there's another table that has volunteered to talk about the problem statement and written down. You wrote 2 lines.
So, like Ambassador has said, there are three steps writing the problem. So, like, that's also saying the first problem is that you look at the amount of diesel for the electricity.
What's your Green Weave Limited?
Alright, Green Weave Limited consumes a large amount of diesel.
Sorry, one class, please.
Which they use for electricity to power steam generation, to power their electric motors, and to get water for dyeing and rinsing. They also have excess wastewater and heat, which goes on use. Now, what is the cost implication of maintaining the status quo? They continue to spend more on diesel. The electricity cost, assume they have diesel is the backbone. So electricity cost will also rise. Then the cost of the excess water being wasted, and they are also pumping water with electricity and diesel. There is also a higher cost for that too. What is the opportunity for savings? To reduce the high cost of diesel, to recycle the heat, to power the, let's say they use the heat to steam, to generate steam as well, so they will save cost of powering that as well. Then, recycle or reuse the water to reduce the amount of water they use.
Please give me a round of applause. How much is this high cost? You just said they spend a lot. What is a lot? 10 million, 50 million, 100 million, 120 million, 10 naira. The example that was provided on the board specified the actual cost or an estimated cost. I'm not saying the one on blue. I said problem statement, the sample problem statement that we provided when we were going through the slide said they spent 30 million. That was the example, right? So you have to specify an amount. Now, because we are in class and the amount is not specified, then you are allowed to make assumptions. You can tell me they spend 100 million. But ensure that you specify the cost. Because remember the example I was giving yesterday, where I was talking about a particular person that wants to move from diesel to solar. You know that I gave the example of, they spend about 150 million naira on diesel, but because we know in Nigeria, price don't stay down, it always goes up. And then I said, well, maybe it will be so amount. So I just gave an assumption of what the price of the diesel is. So very critical that when you talk about the problem statement, don't just tell us what the problem is. If possible, include the cost implication. All right, I think we have time for one more. And this my guy is agile.
Good morning, all. I'm here to make a presentation on behalf of FOC about green weave textile. The problem, green weave textile, like the other group mentioned, they consume a lot of fuel, which is number one, not economical. It's very costly. They should must have used a similar energy source like solar, which is more cheaper and as well as not pollute the environment. By generating wastewater, the company discharges that wastewater into the surrounding environment, thereby polluting the environment, and also that wastewater moves into our municipal water sources and causes health elements leading to epidemic of diseases like cholera and typhoid fever. You see, that's a very negative of that. And secondly, for the cost of maintenance, RECP Green Reef Limited transform to a greener energy source like solar. They must have saved a lot of resources because using an energy efficient source, we have abundant sunlight to at least power the industry, and that is very friendly because apart from the wastewater they discharge into the environment, they also discharge heat, and that heat also helps in increasing the average temperature of the globe, leading to global warming, which are result on the unreliable climatic conditions we are witnessing now. That's all. Thank you.
Please give me a round of applause. I know your plan. Your plan is to collect this like job. I will not allow you to collect. You said you can do that. I will not allow you to do that. Although you notice that for him, he went beyond talking about the obvious problem, which is that he used a lot of diesel and they use a lot of water. He started expanding down into other attendant problems to the environment. He spoke about how the wastewater that is discharged can get into municipal water banks, and that would impact the larger community. He also spoke about the heat that is generated that can impact the temperature, also contributing to global warming. So you notice that in his own problem statement, there's a potential that his problem statement to be like a page long, while for this my friends here, the problem statement can be just 2 or 3 sentences. Their own problem statement might be just 4 sentences. The critical thing is that you describe the problem, you include the cost, very important. I don't hear you mention the particular cost. You need to include the cost. And then finally, we talk about the opportunities for savings, which is some of the things that you described. All right, a round of applause for our guy. All right, so next, we want to go to solution statement. For solution statement, this part, I think that a lot of people will fight. You will fight because don't forget, Green Reef wants to prioritize 1 or 2 RECP opportunities. So this is the part where you have to decide of these 4, which one are you going to select or recommend to Green Reef to prioritize? 1 or 2 of these. You have to choose by fire by force. Which one should be as Kano Consulting Group recommends to Green Reef to prioritize? And so we will write the solution statement now. Over the next, let me see what time. Okay, so this is 10:39. Over the next 10 minutes, you have to write a solution statement and we'll debrief again as a group. Which solution? For example, don't forget some of the things we said yesterday. One of the ways you can prioritize this is by doing the 2x2 matrix to determine which one do you think is high cost, which one do you think is low cost, which one do you think has high impact, which one do you think has low impact. That can be one way to help you to decide. Another way is to say, well, we've written our problem statement. Which one do we think is the biggest problem? And based on that, which solution do we think would solve what we identified as the most important problem? All right, let's get started. We'll come back in 10 minutes. What the GEF protocol has actually done is for us to rebase other greenhouse gases and think about them in CO2 terms. And that's the equivalent that you have there. So, for next time, that's 200 tons of CO2 equivalent. Alright, so what you're saying is that We want to prioritize its recovery from dying units and wastewater reuse system. He said that for the its recovery, he considered the returns for him, the prioritized returns. There is an estimated annual savings of 25 million. And he also considered the environmental impact. By your estimates, 200 tons of CO2 equivalent is a loss by your own personal estimate. And because of that, it's why you decided to prioritize its recovery from dying units. I pushed you, and I said, well, that's the most expensive solution on them. Don't worry, when we get to funding strategy, you will tell us how you want to find the money to not only do its recovery, but to also do wastewater reuse system. Thank you. Round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. So, in my team, the first approach is to look at what we did yesterday using by two matrix. You want to consider the most impactful, and you also want to consider financial viability. That's out of the four options.
Yes.
So if we want to look at the impact, looking at the impact now, we selected upgrading from variable speed motor. That will save energy of 300 megawatts a year. So our energy will reduce by that, and we'll have a cost savings of close to 12 million annually.
Please continue.
So we have cost savings of 12 million annually. And the cost for implementing that is 45 million.
45 million.
45 million.
All right.
So it happens to be the project, the option with the lowest cost. So the second option that we consider is the installation of the wastewater reuse system.
Okay.
The reason for that is that,
But that's not the second cheapest.
yes, it's not, but it's highly impactful, because when you consider impact, you save at least 40% of the water. That's close to more than 1/3 of the water used. And the savings there is also high. You save 18 million. So the total cost savings on both options would be 30 million. Meanwhile, total cost of CAPEX is 105 million. So when you combine the other savings of 30 million with an average payback period of 3.5 million, we see that as the two most impactful and financially viable options. And we have two environmental benefits. The benefit for reusing the water, you save 40% of water processing. That is impactful. Then for energy, you save energy consumption by 300 megawatts also.
Thank you. Please, a round of applause. What my observer from UI has done is to say that let us take more of the tools from our toolkits yesterday. Let's use the 2x2 matrix. You remember that the 2x2 matrix has high impact, low impact, high cost, low cost. And what he has done is that he started by looking at impact. He said that, well, from an impact perspective, upgrade to variable speed motors will save 300 megawatts hour per year. And that it looks like the cheapest. So from a cost perspective, it's decided that in a sense, low cost, high impact. And remember what we said yesterday, the sweet spot for any problem or any list of RECP that you have is finding low cost and high impact. He then moved on to wastewater reuse system. He said for that wastewater reuse system, it will cost us 60 million. But that the estimated annual savings is 18 million. And that water, which is a critical resource that they use and bring with, we'll be able to reduce that water use by 40%. So in his view, these two are the solutions to be prioritized. I asked him though that when we say we are using the 2x2 matrix and we are starting with low cost onto high cost, why did you not select solar hybrid system, for example, which is cheaper than wastewater reuse system? And he also focused diesel use, because diesel is a critical element that green will use. What's your response?
Savings rates lower. You cannot, when you consider that you save 10 million, or in this other one you save 18 million.
Alright, so as a finance person that he is, he's talking from a savings perspective. He said for you, he's prioritizing savings, and that those two will give more savings. What wastewater reuse system, I beg your pardon, has higher savings than solar hybrid. But its recovery has the most savings. Why are you not prioritizing its recovery, which has the highest savings? Okay, so for you think 200 tons of CO2 equivalent is not as impactful as reducing water use by 40%. Alright. You see that what we're saying here is that you can have the same consulting firm and consultants in the same firm, and people will view these issues differently. You'll recall that what I said is that you should determine what the strategic priority of the company is. If you come, for example, and you say to me that the strategic priority of the company is electricity usage and water usage, that already shut me up immediately, because what she said to me is those are the two that goes to the heart of the strategic priority of the company. And to even make things better, they yield sufficient cost savings. They also, at least for the operate variable speed models, also is cheap relative to the other solution. Alright, we have my economist here.
So in this context,
because how do I come at this question?
I actually wanted to ask this today.
Right. You see, my economist guy has taken me to a place and things are not moving. So what he's saying is, well, is there a difference between priorities, strategic priorities, and what the strategic objectives are for the company? And I said in this context, no. The point I'm making is, as a company, we say that the strategic direction for us is energy usage is what's giving us the most problem, and that's what we want to reduce the most. Then, even if they list water on them, and it's the cheapest, because for us, energy usage is at the core of what we think is driving is the most important for us. There's a potential for us to want to prioritize energy, even though water, solving water is cheaper. Right? So that's the point that I'm making. Because I've seen a situation where diesel cost was high, but they said, well, it is the CEO's younger brother that's supplying the diesel. What, as a consultant, what do I say? So the company by themselves have decided that diesel is not their problem. It's not a priority. Because for them, it's Oga's brother that's providing the diesel. So do you think those kind of people will switch to solar? So there are sometimes the words that we see are interesting. We can talk theoretical all we want. You can get to the field and Oga will say, no, don't touch it. You just hear them fighting with you about diesel, and you say, no, but these people don't say this. They will say, don't touch diesel. You can touch anything else. But you see that diesel, don't touch it. And it's when you now raise the wood and you uncover that it is Oga's brother at supplying diesel. So that's why they decided that water is more important than the fact it can solve for any other thing, but don't solve for diesel. All right.
Sorry, thank you. I'm looking at the payback period.
Yes.
Also for the solar hybrid system has the highest payback period.
Yeah.
I noticed a mismatch really because the solar hybrid system for lighting and heating saves you 1 million.
Yeah.
And the payback period is 5.5 years.
Yes.
For those financing, this will not be attractive. But the saving is about the lowest, and the payback period is about the highest. So that needs to be taken into account. And again, when you look at the environmental impact, when you compare the solar hybrid and then the wastewater reuse system, I also see a mismatch there because if you compare cost-wise, the cost of diesel is much higher than the cost of water. So if you are saying for all this effort, you sink about 60 million naira for wastewater reuse system and then 55 hybrid system, then you find that the reduction in water usage is just 40%, and then that of diesel is 20%. Cost-wise, when you compare those two reductions, you will see that the diesel should be higher. So that is why when we do the analysis properly, I see a mismatch between the data that is presented, unless it is actually intentionally presented like this, so as to make us use our brain and then look at something that clearly appears to be a mismatch. Even under that circumstance, how do you now move forward to address the problem? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Give me a round of applause. You see, I'll be surprised if someone does not point to the data and say there's a problem with data. I came prepared for people like that as well. All right. Solar hybrid system for lighting and admin. For lighting and admin. For lighting and admin. Is there still a mismatch? Maybe not. Okay. But you make a great point about payback period, and that would make me put on my finance hat very quickly. You see, sometimes it's tricky, and this is the inherent limitation of the payback period method. You could have two projects that will give you the same payback period. How do you assess those two projects? You see, the challenge with payback period is that it does not tell you two things. Number one, the time value of money is not factored in the payback period. That's one. But more importantly, I'm coming to you, sir. It's not coming to you. The other thing that's important is that the payback period does not tell you when payback will be. So imagine that you have two projects. Imagine that wastewater reuse system is 60 million. Solar hybrid is 60 million. They have the same savings and they have the same payback. Just imagine for 1 second. That's 10 million payback. One might yield 8 million in the first 2 years, and the remaining 2 million will be in the last 3 years. While one can be 2 million every year for the next 5 years. You see that for one, the payback might be front-loaded, and the other, the payback might be smooth over the next 5 years. But you just look at it on the face and say they both have payback period of 5.5 years. So that's another inherent limitation in the payback period, because you can have two projects with the same payback period, but the timing of payback will be different. But you will not see it by simply looking at 5.5 years. Are you a finance person? Accountant.
this data also cannot give you a clear picture because it doesn't see what lifetime of each project. For instance, the solar will cannot be 25 years. It must be the heat recovery maybe 10 years. So just looking at this data, I think it's not going to give you a clear picture to choose which of these methods is the best one.
So what we're saying is, in situations like this where you have limited data, we're not EST. We spoke about data limitation. When there's limited data, how do you make a decision? Alright. Now, another function. I just it's been contributing now. Very good. First thing we ask them, I don't have to take fresh time. Alright, the point ultimately is that you see, we can come at the solutions differently, which is why I keep insisting that you have multiple stakeholders at the table. There was someone who was talking about problem earlier and expanded into environmental related issues. You know, you're talking about, well, we are not considering the lifespan of the project itself, and it's important for us to check that relative to the savings and the KPIs and all of that. That's the other thing you raised. And so different professionals being at the table will raise different points, and that will help us have a richer and better conversation, which will help us to ultimately choose which solution we should go forward with or which one we should avoid. Alright. I think that we should break now for about 10 minutes, go and get our tea and our pop-up and all of those. And when we're done, we'll come back to continue the exercise. Thank you. By the way, you should give yourselves a round of applause. This Kano. Every other place I've gone, when I give them 10 minutes, you end up spending 20 minutes, and they'll still say they are not ready. So I think that people are even finishing the exercise before the prescribed time. So thank you. You want to determine whether your workforce is trained to operate the equipment. Then you want to talk about what the time is, what are the milestones, what are the actions you take, and who is going to be the responsible officer or the accountability partner for each of the elements within your implementation plan. So over the next 10 minutes, I'll give the group time to come up with an implementation plan for the solution that you have selected in your table group. For example, you can say that we are going to use an external vendor to deploy the solution. We will go through an RFP process, a request for proposal process, and we will select 3 people, and ultimately we will choose the one vendor. All of that will impact the timeline. Some people say that they want to import the machines from outside Nigeria. That will impact the timeline. Some people say they don't want to do that. They want to buy Nigeria and grow the Naira. And so some people say that they will do the implementation here. They will not go outside Nigeria. All of those will impact your timeline. Some people say that they buy an off-the-shelf product. And some others say that they will do a custom-made product. All of those will impact your timeline. So over the next 10 minutes in your table groups, write up an implementation plan. This is 11:28. We will debrief at 11:38. Maybe 11:40. Off we go. Please, you can stop me if you have any question, comments, clarification, and I'll be happy to provide those to answer your question. Thank you. All right, let's write the implementation plan. We have 8 minutes more. 8 minutes more. I see that people think that this is a test. It's the feedback document. And we always value objective feedback. We value objective feedback so that we can do better. Objective feedback. Thank you. All right. I think people are done. Teams are done with their implementation plan. All right, let's debrief. This man is all right, let's be brief. I hear everybody is done now. All right, let's go to this table. All right, my other staff, can you walk us through your implementation plan? Sorry. Okay. Sorry, one class, please. One class. Very sophisticated.
Okay, so for our implementation plan, we tend to use internal technical team. Yes.
All right. So for their own implementation plan, they intend to use an internal technical team.
Where they will also engage some vendors to probably bring them up to speed with the
solution are you deploying? Like, is it water, wastewater reuse?
Wastewater. So they get more, gets vendors bring up to speed on how to use that.
All right.
Then that will also save us cost because we're not bringing it entirely independent on external barriers. So on space, utility,
Sorry, one glass, please.
Yeah, okay, so for the timeline, so we're looking at the training and the order coming in the first 1 month.
Okay.
Then the delivery, we're looking at the delivery part, so it's coming within the next 60 days. So that's
60 days.
So that's the second and third month. Then installation will be deployed in the fourth month.
All right, so for your group, 4 months, that's plan. All right, so you start by training for first month.
Yes. Training and order is the same month.
Yeah, training and placing the order
Yeah, the same month.
for you the same month. And then you suspect that in 60 days,
You should arrive.
this is prepared to arrive. You look like someone that knows somebody at the port. So clearance will not take time.
Because it's energy related.
Yeah, so sharp, it's ready. All right, so within 2 months.
We're not bringing contraband.
You're not bringing contraband. Contraband will take time to do. All right, so 3 months, and then the final month.
Deployment and testing.
All right, so you deploy and you test the final. So that's 4 months. Thank you. Please give him a round of applause. Is there any group that their own timeline is longer than 4 months? All right. How long is your time? And why is it long?
Sorry, I want to take you back.
All right.
We actually implement the plan. Actually, we make the case of 3.
Wastewater.
We indicate that okay. When you work design design cost and implement. So when you design and install it there, you have to train our staff. That will take a long time. So the best thing we are going to issue proposal, right? The second week we select the consultant.
Second week.
Yes.
Wait.
The second one, sorry. The second one.
Because I want to go like without to wait for proposal and then take one.
Now I have 2 weeks. Then after we select for consultant, we now give him an award. Data.
You know that this man has gone through plenty RFP. Who said we give him an award letter?
This one, don't like.
Procure great. So now you see the difference between the difference between what you did and what you did is that it's telling us who will be responsible for doing work. So procurement team will do that. All right.
Then we're now going to the consultant 6 months.
6 months.
Buying cost and cost.
All right. All right.
After then, in 7 months, we train for our local health department. That when you train them, they will not cover the cost.
All right. So how many months?
Total is a year.
A year. Okay. So you see, we've got 2 groups that want to deploy the same solution. One group says it will take them 4 months. Another group says it will take them 1 year. The difference is that there's one group that says that they are going to buy an off-the-shelf product. And so once they place the order, they're bringing it direct to Kano. And within 60 days, they said they don't even need to do anybody at the port. They will clear the product sharp. And within 60 days, they will get there and they will go buy to test it. For these our friends here, they said there will be an entire award and RFP process. For that, it will take about a month. And then they will give the vendor 6 months to construct and so to design it, meaning that what they want is a custom-made solution. Because the custom-made solution, it takes some time to design and then to ultimately bring it down. after which they will train their local staff and ultimately deploy. All right. I want to ask a question. For you, it will take 1 year. For the other group, it will take 4 months. But we said that Greenweave does a 24-hour operating plant. They have a 24-hour production line. How have you factored in the 24-hour production in your implementation plan? Are you saying that you are going to stop production for 1 year? Are you saying that they will only work, your consultant, for example, will only work on the weekends? What is your plan to ensure that we are able to continue running our business while we deploy the solution? So you're saying that for you, you're creating a new facility all together. Even though this is a wastewater reuse system. Alright, my point is that when you write your business plan, you want to be sure that you are factoring in the reality of your business into it. How can you have a 24-hour production line in this our economy that you want to keep producing, and you are not factoring that into whatever solution you want to deploy? Someone said 1 year, another person said 4 months. I'm sure another table has 8 months. What plans do you have in place to backstop ongoing production?
I'll just discuss some of my knowledge. For me, I would propose that we have a drop trading system. So we still maintain the whole one. At the same time, we try to implement it. So before we shut down the whole one, before we implement the whole one, we'll see what's the whole one.
Right, so what he said is that, for him, we will keep using the old equipment while we're deploying the new one, such that there will be little or no break in production when we ultimately go to the new system.
What I wanted to add is the first group that proposed 4 months and one that proposed 10. So I think there should be at least form of way of analyzing the risk. So for the first group, they are proposing an in-house project. They are going to be utilizing their labor. So you're going to be taking people off what they are doing business as usual to take them to a new project. So it's going to cut off between 4 hours running. So I think the best way is outsourcing. That's based on what we need from. And ours is not up to the 6 months for the current. I think ours is 8 months. So risk analysis, is it okay to use it internally, use your internal workforce or go for outsourcing? So outsourcing will be better for this particular project because it runs straight for us. So doing it internally, you're going to get some workforce and utilize them doing the project.
Thank you, thanks a lot. He's raised another point, which is that for them, they consider the use of either internal staff or external staff. Because this is a power production line, they worry that if they use internal staff, that might impact the continued production within the business. And so they would rather outsource to the decision to either use internal or external staff. For them, it's not even about the technical capability of the staff internally. It's really about whether they have the time or whether they are able to deploy these resources, internal resources, towards doing something else. Alright, in the spirit of time, let's move on to the last section. By the way, some people will say that when we these engineers and their role is to help us solve issues like this. That is one of the issues that we solve. So some people might still land on the fact that internal engineering can solve problems. But it's a great point that you can look at and say, we don't have capability to use internal, not because they cannot do the work, because if you pull them off, you will disrupt operations. All right, so let's go to the final phase. For the final phase, we will be coming up with our funding strategy, and then we will do two things. We'll come up with our funding strategy, meaning where do we want to raise this money from? How do we want to raise this money? Are we going to the commercial bank? Are we going to collect grants? Are we going to use equity? Are we going to use a mixture of both? After that, you will now list out 3 risks and mitigation that you put in place. So we are rolling 2 things together. Number 1, we'll talk about our funding strategy. Where do you want to raise the money to deploy our solution? And number 2, we'll talk about the risk and mitigation strategy. I need you to write only 3 risks, only 3, and what the mitigation strategy will be. Alright, we will start now, and we have 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes, after which we will debrief and gather. Alright, let's get started. 4 minutes more. All right, let's start wrapping up. Let's start wrapping up. Let's start wrapping up. All right, one more minute. One more minute. Okay, let us agree. Pens up. Pens up. All right, so I'd like to go to the fidelity page, like I like to call the table. Tell us what the funding strategy is and what risk, and you've identified what your mitigation strategy is.
Okay, so our funding strategy. So sorry, one part. recently is going to do for this paper.
What solution are you?
Yes, we discussed the
wastewater
reviews. So, one of the things we think we need to go to
BUI.
One, because of the friendly interest rates and I believe the purpose for the loan is going to also improve the business because we need to reduce operating costs. And finally, risks that we have. I think most for us actually we prefer to buy to import water because one of the risks that we are associated with is going to be the FSCs. Okay, that's one. To mitigate it, we are going to sort of commercial banks and again, I don't think that I don't think it's done now. So it's possible to get the full engine, pay, and whatever the rent is, that's one. Number two, I also have financial performance risk. That the person who is going to do the execution was also taking an exam. Performance risk that the person might not meet his own obligation as a maybe institution and all. Then finally, we sign the after
Or your implementation plan, we did not talk about including legal. So you that did not include legal in your implementation plan, how are you going to draft the undertaking that the person that will deploy?
we include legal. You don't need
No, but I know that you don't include legal in your implementation plan. Alright, give me a round of applause, please. What he's saying is that for them, the plan is to go to BOI. They said that BOI's rate is very healthy. It's just 10%, at least for this particular product. And so, why should they go and borrow money at a high rate when you can just simply go to BOI? So bring debt. What they fail to say is that they need equity contribution for that BOI that they are going to. That should be, and acceptable security. They refuse to tell us what security they will provide, what their equity contribution will be. They just think they will stroll into BOI and collect all the money at 10%. They said the risk is that there will be FX elements because they are importing the product. And they said that they will go to a commercial bank to get into a forward contract to hedge their FX risk. They said that for performance risk, that they intend, because the vendor that they bring might not install it appropriately, so they would have signed an undertaking, which brings us to the point that you have to involve legal. One of the things you have told me, for example, is that embedded within your procurement process is already these clauses and all of this undertaking that you're speaking about. So within your procurement process itself, there's already that element. Let's see. Should we give BOI the final honors?
In addition to what my brother said, I think we are always in hurry running to BOI for loans. We should consider other cheap funding sources. For example, we can look for grants, right? And the reason why we are talking about rates, beyond performance rates, there's a financial risk also. You mentioned FX rates. It will make sense to have a mission that are producing projections internally to determine by how much of the FX we will go for, and then they put some forum to doing some kind of event that will become very
Sir. Yesterday, actually, I talked about FX risk, and I spoke about one way to hedge it, and that's what we were touching on. I said that you can back cast and look at what the FX rate, the growth rate of exchange exchange rate has been over the past, for example, 6 months. And then you can have a buffer internally. In fact, you can take that money and put it place in a commercial bank to let you make interest so that in the eventuality that the FX risk does crystallize, that you should have a buffer like saved up somewhere. Rather than going to the commercial bank sometimes and you have to pay for the forward contract, and those things don't come. Alright. Should we take one more person or can we wrap up here? Do we have any other person that wants to tell us about their funding strategy? We have. The point I was going to make as well, which has been made by my organ there, is when you talk about cheap funds, don't forget when I showed you that chart yesterday, I said the cheapest is grants, the most expensive is equity. Yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's because we have contrary opinion as views with them. Our own funding, source of funding, we selected grants. We're going to hire we're going to hire an external consultant that will develop a very good proposal for us in order for our proposal to scale through and access the grants. They are hiring. That's all. Thank you. This is a round of applause.
The grants are very competitive. So getting access to grants, it will be easier for you, like you said, that you get a cheap loan that you make everything contribution. It's more realistic.
Alright. Alright. But you see, what he has now said is we know that grants can be competitive. We will pay consultants shikini money. That's how I address that issue. That's how he has addressed the issue.
That is available for that particular request.
Exactly. Now, make no mistake, if grants are that easy to get, nobody will go to commercial bank, nobody will go to BUI. And so grants are not just a stroll in the park. Sometimes they can be tricky to get. One or two ways to access them is number one, you can either go and look for an industry-specific grant so that you know that at least this is specific to your industry and you have the potential to get the grant. You have the actions. The other one is to go and look for maybe an equipment-specific grant. So there are certain grants that are for solar. BOI, for example, has a solar fund. And so if you say you want to deploy solar, you already have the chance of getting that. So either you get an industry-specific grant or an equipment-specific grant. So, with these few words of mine, I hope I've been able to convince and not to confuse that RECP projects and IE projects are important and that you can get the requisite funding and financing to deploy them. Thank you. Thank you.
So we have a partnership with UNIDO. We are in charge of the funds. The fund is $600 million, and it's for those MSMEs, small, medium, and enterprises that are interested in energy efficiency. So that's basically that's basically the category of entrepreneurs that can benefit from the funds. So I'll give you a quick rundown of what it entails. So the objective of the project is basically to promote energy, material, water, and chemical efficiency, which is basically what we've been doing. So from what we've been doing by our facilitator, it's what the funds intend to achieve. Then we also, the objective also intends to improve industrial, environment, sustainability, and energy access. Then the target industry for this fund, for the $600 million, the target industry is food and beverages, basic metal, iron and steel, petrochemicals, textile, wood and furniture. So if you know someone or your business falls within this category, and you are interested in efficient energy, you can apply for the fund.
Okay, so the targets, target industrial groups, right? Food and beverages, basic metal, iron and steel, petrochemicals, textile, wood and furniture. These are the priority sectors due to their significant potentials to energy efficiency and cleaner production. Then for geographical focus of the areas in which we intend to, the pilot phase, which will commence with, we have Lagos, Ogun, Warri, Asaba, Onitsha, Aba, Port Harcourt, Calabar, Kano, and Kaduna. These zones are chosen based on the concentration of high industrial activities in the areas. Then, so the financial framework, what's the part of the conditions of the fund? Is a long-term fund, tenor for 4 years, with an interest rate of 10% all inclusive, where you have, it's not, there's no free funds anywhere. It's not grant. It's not a grant. It's not a grant. Just for clarity, it's not a grant. But one interest rate of 10% is close to a grant in Nigeria, going by the market rate. Then equity contribution, you have to contribute between 20 to 30% as equity contribution, and this will come in the form of your existing equipment. If you want to push in your own additional capital, that's all what you can bring as equity contribution. The repayment is monthly. You can repay monthly, but it depends on your business. If your cash flow requires a quarterly repayment, we can also accommodate that. So for acceptable collateral security, we take all asset venture. This is where we take all the assets you have in your company as security for the loan. Then we'll also take equipment insurance. There's also bank guarantee for those that are taking huge amount. Okay, by the way, the obligor limit, right, for this particular fund is 100 million naira. If for any reason the amount you want is above this, BOI will extend the balance to you, while the one that falls under this agreement is just 100 million. Then, so the security, like I said, bank guarantees, legal mortgage on your property. Then, I think that's that for the collateral. So if for any reason what you intend to finance, like I said, is above the 100 million threshold, because you know the initial capital for efficient energy. If you're installing solar, if you're moving to a gas powered generator, the initial cost might be high. So if it's not within this fund limit, BOI will always augment the balance. And since it's equipment, with BOI you also get 10%. So I don't know if you have any question before. Yes.
Don't you have a duration period, like maybe 6 months before the person starts?
Okay, yes, there's a moratorium period of 6 months on the principal. Yes.
So what is the payback period is more than 4 years later? Is this still going to be fixed or can you make it better?
Sorry.
The payback period for what is better?
Okay, the payback period.
Maybe say 6 years. Can you make your
okay, for this arrangement is 4 years, but BOI gives you up to 6 years. Sorry? Yes. Okay, so the equity is two forms, right? It's either you're getting additional capital or the value of what your investment. Say for instance, you have an existing
saving, there's cleaner production, you're saving energy, you're moving from diesel to gas power, you're buying solar installations. How? No, that's why I said from the beginning I said small, so the numbers are 1 million. Another question.
What is the lending criteria? And do you have gauge performance or
Okay, because of the amount is 100 million. If you have bigger amount, it's fine. Any other question? Such as? Because if you're importing, 6 months there or something depends. Well, no, but I think that on a case by case is the reason why it should be. Another question. So that will be that from Bank of Industry. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. There's a document going around now. We want to please with you to endeavor to provide relevant information. As usual, in the line with procedure of laid out by UNIDO, is 5% to you. It's just to take care of any fuel or transport. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. There's a document going around now. We want to plead with you to endeavor to provide relevant information. As usual, when we do trading, in line with procedure laid down by UNIDO, a stipend will be sent to you. It's just to take care of your maybe fuel or transport. So please endeavor to provide correct information, particularly account details. We'll also be showing on the screen the list of participants. I would also like to appeal to us to spend time to look at it. It will show on the screen. Please check that your emails, addresses are spelled correctly, your phone numbers and all of that, so that when we come for the next one, because for the technical people,
We'll be having another session from 3rd week in June with international experts. For those that have been with us from the onset, you know, we started with the basics. Later we moved to the intermediate. Now we are going to the advanced stage, because at the end of the day, this program participants will be certified, will be given certificates as people that have been trained, have been exposed to the IEE and RECP methodology. I also want to appeal that, please, if there is a reason for you to change, I'm speaking to industry, you are no longer in the employment of that company, please also still notify us before the end. The program is ending by November, by the special grace of God, so that you won't miss. We have series of trainings that are still coming for the advanced stage, and we'll still be coming back to Kano. And I know Olumide also must have mentioned in the course of presentation, is still coming back also. So let's endeavor to be part of those workshops. However, what we guarantee that is what is showing on the list, so that we won't send bills to the wrong people or wrong persons, so that it will come to you directly. Of course, where we need to copy your management, we will do so that at least they'll give you permission to also be part of the process. I think that's all we have from this end, from the P Project Management Unit. I would just like to say a special thank you, appreciation, extending the gratitude of the BMU to all the participants, especially our partners from Nigeria, from Bank of Industry, and from Crest. Oh, we have somebody from Commercial Bank here. Wow, which bank is that, sir? Fidelity. Thank you so much for finding time to be here. And our prof, also, I value your presence exceedingly. Together, all of us, you can see the area of stakeholders. Together, we can actually make this to happen successfully in Nigeria. For industries, my advice is that let's put some of these things that we are learning to practice. Because if at the end of the day we learn and we are not utilizing what we have learned, you all know the answer. I wouldn't want to speak negatively. So the ultimate aim is that at the end of this project, we'll be able to tick some relevant boxes to say, we've trained this number of experts, we've trained this number of experts, and we've trained this number of employees of industries. So those that are experts among us, we also have a training that is coming, that is focusing on, for lead auditors, those that will become like lead auditors for ISO 50001, as well as ISO 14001 or 14000 series. But however, you will see that you did one small assessment. The question looks simple and all of that. It's just to help the PMU to be able to see, because it costs so much. For example, those that participate in the lead auditor, we need to pay per participant in the certification process. And companies that will ultimately also select, that will be selected to also go through the ISO 50001, 14001 series program will also be on merit. So we are watching you as you participate. We are seeing your feedback. And at the end of the day, we want to have yardstick with which we can justify and say, this is the reason we chose this company. This is the reason we approve that the following persons be certified. On that note, I would like to say a big thank you to our resource person, and not take you for granted. You have been all and doing all the way from Lagos to Onitsha to Abuja, and now we are rounding up in Kano. I pray that God will renew your strength and also enlarge your course, open you up to greater things. I must say this openly, not to just, I've said it to you directly. What we love most in the PMU is the simplicity with which you brought to the presentation. And I would like to say that you should keep up with this. And we look forward to also getting the list from you. You know, you have an assignment. You have to pick one company that will do hand-holding for to develop a business plan. So we'll be waiting for the list of them. I wish you safely back to your destination. So to all the participants, once again, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. We appreciate you. And we look forward to meeting you hopefully in June for the technical people, and in September for those that are finance or accounting, from finance and accounting department. So let's endeavor to correct if we have seen anything. I wish you safe trip back to your homes and your destination. All the best.
Industries, please, let's speak briefly. Those for industries, please, after the group of graduates, we have some places in this month.
Okay, my name is Engineer Bashir Inwa. I am from Nigerian Environmental Society and the state chapter chairman and the technical person in the society. This program? No, I have started this program since inception with UNIDO. In fact, I attend training with UNIDO since 2009. That's a project they did in Kano. That is a secondary treatment plant in our industries. I'm the one of the focal person there. I have attended training in Istanbul, Turkey, from UNIDO. Actually, when I have seen this email some 2-3 days back, a week back, actually I am very, very happy because I'm already started to learn many things in the energy efficiency, which I wanted it to be continuous. The most valuable thing I learned from this training is that the training is very, very precise, very accurate, and it is impact knowledge on all the participants. We try to synthesize the industries. We as a professional bodies, Nigerian Environmental Society, we're going to try to make awareness to the industry and to embrace this energy efficiency and RECP project, because it will actually reduce the wastage of the energy in their company, and it's environmentally compliance. The content is very, very clear and very practical, and everybody will take it to his industry for application.
My name is Dr. Lukman Lawa. I work in Nigeria, National Environmental Standard Regulation Enforcement Agency. This is not my first time I'm attending this program. The reason for attending this training is for me to have more knowledge about financing a particular project under the RECP/IEE. However, all the sections taught in the trainings are valuable, because it will help one to really know what you're supposed to do in order to maximize whatever you are doing for optimal resource usage and energy conservations. Yes, because we regulate industries, and some of these things going to bear. So we will be telling some of the facilities that we regulate, if this be on the need to key into the RECP a project for better productions. The content was very excellent and very encouraging. So I look forward to future participation in this kind of laudable programs.
My name is Suleiman Umar. I work with Bank of Industry. I'm a regional manager for the Northwest 1. that covers Kaduna, Kebbi, Sokoto, and Zamfara. Okay, yes, I attended one in Uyo, sometimes in February this year. So this is the second event I'm attending. Okay, owing to my role that I work with Bank of Industry, right? Since I work with Bank of Industry and we're looking at investment in climate-friendly projects that will save energy. So it's part of the motivation, and personally it's something I have interest in. Okay, the most valuable is yes. Well, before the training, I also know that saving cost of energy, like solar, is high, right? The initial capital is high, but then with the training, I know the sort of equipment that you can use that will save you lots of energy. And with the training, I also realized that there are other funds available when you save energy. Okay, so for applying it in my organization, it will help in identifying projects that are energy efficient. You know, okay, with those that are moving from diesel to gas generators, they qualify for projects. So it will help me to identify projects that qualify to get financed under the program. You know, have a partnership with UNIDO in financing projects. Okay, the content was clear and practical, right? We were able to identify what is clean production. That's when we also realized that clean production focuses on the source, not just the whole process. So yes, very clear.
I'm Professor Nasir Isa Fage, Director, Center for Renewable Energy and Sustainability Transitions, Bayero University, Kano. No, I have attended 2 other training sessions before, organized by Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Well, industrial energy efficiency and resource-efficient clean production are very critical in the industrial production processes. So, and our center is promoting energy efficiency. We are also promoting the use of alternative sources of energy. So that serves as a clear motivation for me to attend this program. Well, I have learned a lot about the regulations as well as the funding avenues. I have also learned a lot about how to plan, to have an implementation plan that will enable you attract funding from the financial institutions. These are very critical in addressing industrial energy efficiency and resource efficient clean production. Well, one, we are a university-based research center. So we conduct research, we also disseminate knowledge, and we train people by impacting on them capacity to deliver. So we have programs that attract people, the youth, as well as people working in the industry. So this knowledge that I have gained here will play a serious role in addressing the mandates of the center that I'm heading. We are very clear. We were able to go through most of the requirements for industrial energy efficiency and clean production.
My name is Hyacinth Ezima. I work with JK Capes Industries Nigeria Limited at Sharada Phase 2. This is my first time of attending this particular event. The company itself was interested. That is the most important thing. Because without the company accepting our being here, I don't think myself and my colleague would have been here. So they gave us the go-ahead to attend and then feed back to the company. Actually, the finance aspect was what I enjoyed most, because I am a technical person, and I was privileged to have the opportunity to know much about how to go about starting up a business and how to finance a business. Yeah, like I told you, the organization sent me, my company sent me to this place. So as soon as we get back, we'll sit down with the management and discuss with them what we've learned. And then, as a technical man also, I will advise them, especially on this energy aspect, how to go about this renewable energy, so that we can, improve on. Already we have one, so maybe we can improve on that. Yes, like I told you, it was very clear, very, very clear.